James Ham, who's hanging out with us the rest of the way in his beautiful Blue Bottle Boys hoodie that he got going on there. James, we've been using this phrase called catching a body. And that means a lot of Kings fans have, they've gone RIP. They were broken last night by that game versus the Los Angeles Lakers. You've had the privilege, I guess, of covering a lot of bad Kings basketball. Where does last night's game rank for you?
I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but that's because I've seen some really, really bad things. But it is, as far as what happened inside the arena, that's a first. And I think it was probably one of the saddest things that I've seen. So to hear the Laker chants and there was no response at all from the Kings fans. And to be honest with you, I went back and looked at the attendance numbers from last night, and that was stunning. I mean, that building was 8,000, 9,000 Lakers fans. The attendance was under 12,500 for a Lakers game.
Behind the hoop was empty.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, I mean, I don't blame fans for not coming out to support the team. There are all the other stuff that we've talked about, the COVID stuff and all that, but that's not what this is about at this point. I mean, it's the Lakers. I think this is strictly about basketball and about a team that is letting you down. And so I think that's understandable.
Yeah. James, I mentioned it maybe a week or so ago or whatever. And I just, you mentioned something right there talking about a team that's letting you down, letting the fans down. I think this has to be one of, if not the most disappointing Kings team of all time, considering the expectations for many, not all. Some people maybe saw this coming a mile away or whatever the case may be. But there was real belief coming into the season that this could be a team that could contend for a play-in spot. And to not only be a few games out of that right now, but just get slapped around the way they've been slapped around a number of different times. It's deflating to this fan base right now. I think it's one of the more disappointing teams, if not the most disappointing team we've had since this drought started.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think this is probably, in my 12 years so far, I mean, we're always going to have to preface it with so far. We are still really young in the season, and there is, like, the rest of the Western Conference isn't great either. I think we have started to see the shift where the East is better. And so you're looking at a lot of teams that are around the Kings that haven't been able to pull away from the Kings, regardless of how bad they are. So I think just on a grand scale, yeah, there's no way around it. This team should be better. They've got better talent than they're playing. The pieces are just much better than the sum of the whole. And, they just can't figure out how to play together. They can't figure out how to find success. I talked to Tyrese Halliburton at Shoot Around yesterday and asked him about, needing to shoot more. Tyrese Halliburton is like a tremendous young player. He's a talent that every team in the league would like to have on their roster. And 7 of the last 10 games now, he's scored in single digits. That's just not acceptable. He's playing 30 minutes a night. That's just more than 30 on most nights. That's just not the way that this thing can work. And he's not the only one. And I just, destroyed Buddy Hield in a piece on the Kings Beat. I don't think you can play Buddy. If Alvin Gentry is doing right by this team right now, I do not believe he can let Buddy Hield step on the court anymore, at least for 5 games until he gets it. I went back and looked at every play leading up to the worst shot attempt that I have ever seen in Sacramento Kings history. A 27-footer when the game is slipping away from you with 20 seconds on the shot clock. The worst shot, the worst decision I think I have ever seen in 12 years of covering this team. And it came on the heels of 2 plays earlier. He had a turnover where he tried to do a jump pass and Anthony Davis tipped it, and then the Lakers caught it. And he got beat down the court by Anthony Davis for a layup. And then the next defensive play Buddy Hield fouls Russell Westbrook on a jumper, and he goes to the line for 2. And then he
with the shot
pulls
clock
up.
running down, by the way.
Yeah,
Like on the shot
with
clock.
that trash shot, I was shocked. And the fact that not only did Alvin Gentry not grab him with a big old hook and rip him off the court, but let him finish that quarter and destroy any chance they had of coming back, and then open up the fourth and let him play the first 9.5 minutes. Like, the apology needed to come from Alvin Gentry, because Alvin Gentry is the one who made that decision. And so we talk about poor coaching decisions along the way. That was one where you just stood out like, who in the building? I mean, Lakers fans are cheering that Buddy Hield's on the court. Who isn't cheering? The Kings fans certainly aren't, because they know what's happening. They can watch what's happening. But for some reason, the coach didn't see it. And I think Alvin Gentry is a very good coach. And I hope that he makes changes. And I hope that he watches the same film that I watch, because I was appalled going back and watching it again today. And just watching the Lakers get the switch on to Buddy Hield almost every single time. And the times they didn't, they back cut him to death. It's always his guy hitting the corner 3 ball. I watched one play. I pulled my wife over. She was walking by. I'm like, watch this. Buddy Hield just wandered away from Wayne Ellington in the corner. The only thing Wayne Ellington can do on the court is shoot a 3. He wandered away from him for no reason. Wide open 3 ball game. And that's just the culture of my bad. It's got to stop. And it's, I don't care what trade value is or anything else at this point. This team is like, you're losing it. The whole thing is slipping out. And you're in danger of becoming the next Tyrone Corbin. And that's not what you want. That's what you need to avoid if you're Alvin Gentry. And I get him apologizing, but man, I've never seen anything like that. As a person who's covered this team, someone who's grown up in Sacramento, someone who knows the lineage between the Lakers and the Kings, to have the Lakers fans just own the building, just own it, was just so sad. And there, again, Vivek Ranadive sitting at center court watching it all. At least he shows up every day and watches, because I think a lot of owners in this situation that have been in this situation for 8 consecutive seasons and have played a huge part in what's happening here, they wouldn't show up. So I'll at least give him props for that. He's showing up, he's standing there, and he's taking his lumps.
Casey, a couple of quick things before you jump in here. One, you're listening to D-Lo Casey along with James Ham here on ESPN 1320 KIFM West Sacramento and Odyssey Station, and driven by Lashers, Elk Grove, Dodge. Proper introduction, 1320 Kings Insider, James Ham, and the creator of the Kings Beat as well. Well, with all that said, we've got tickets to see the Sacramento Kings for you. We're going to be taking on Memphis on December 17th. These are free, so we're sending you to see them for free. You can even cheer on the Grizzlies if you feel the need to. 916-349-1320. Again, that's caller number 3 right now, 916-349-1320. My bad, Casey. Go ahead, get in there.
No, I was just going to agree with everything James said.
Kenny had brought that 3 up like 10 minutes ago.
I mean, it was that 3, James, would the Kings probably still have lost? Probably so. Probably so. But I think if I remember correctly, they might have been down 9 or 8, 7.
7.
They were down 7. They score. They get the stop, right? So now you're 5 with the stop and the ball. And he comes down and he jacks up to what you said accurately, maybe the worst shot we've seen in the last 12 to 15 years. And everybody, that just sucked the life out of everybody. I feel like the Lakers might have went on a 8-0 run right after that. Because I know I threw my hands up. I try to be professional in the media area or whatever. I don't really say too much or anything like that. I threw my hands up when he shot. I said, what is that? I couldn't believe it.
Our job is to remain stoic. And, I think I may have, it's funny. I was sitting by Sam Amick, and Amick at one point said, boy, if this has become one of those games that, you almost can't lose. And they were up 14. And I said, Sam, don't say that. Don't say that. It's the Sacramento Kings, man. What are you trying to do here? And sure enough, he jinxed them. And at one point I said, I feel like I need to be the next one to throw up. Like I was looking at the crowd below me and thought it's possible I could start a complete and total barfarama. It's so hard. It's hard because that they're not this bad, but then they keep showing you that they are that bad. And your mind tells you that this is not who they are. Your eyes tell you that is exactly who they are.
Yep.
And, we've talked about the Harrison Barnes situation. Not having Harrison Barnes is just so bad for this. And let's be honest, it's not just Harrison Barnes. It's Harrison Barnes and Mo Harkless. And while people will discredit Mo Harkless's, strength on this team, you just lost both of your forwards, your 6'8" guys that can defend multiple positions. You lost them both. And Luke King is out there trying to defend a Hall of Famer and Carmelo Anthony. And I mean, Luke King, it was his second game in the NBA this season. He's a two-way player. And oh, by the way, you started last season's two-way player in Chimezie Metu on Anthony Davis, an 8-time All-Star. Like, that's where we're at this point. So everyone is culpable in this. Like, this team did not have the guys to put in those forward positions. They did not have the backups. I said it in the beginning of the season. It was almost like you had a 9-man roster and you had two guys sitting there waiting to get traded and never got traded. And so if they make a trade now, it's like, okay, well, where was this trade a month ago? Where was this trade 2 months ago? Where was this trade 3 months ago? Like, you knew what this team looked like. You knew the hole that was there. And now you're faced with the reality that, two guys go down and it's the two guys you can't have go down at the same exact time. Well, that's basketball. Guys get hurt. I don't think anyone is wanting to get hurt on this team. But at the same time, like, that's the lack of depth on this team. And let's be honest, the other thing the Kings just did, they just wiped out their opportunity to trade a first-round pick. Because I sure as heck am not trading a first-round pick at this point, because this team is bad. And if this team is this bad, well, maybe they're a top 3 pick. So now you can't trade your first-round pick either. So it does put you in like a bad situation unless you just think it's gold and you can go get a great player and a package because everyone knows that your team is going to be a high lottery team again. So I think that's where we're at. I think, do you trust the guys that built the roster the last 2 seasons to make a trade to potentially change the face of this franchise moving forward? Do you trust that? They've made 2 nice draft picks, I think, at least one really good one, I think. But at the same time, we're at a position where like we can't talk about, the Bogdanovich, Dante DiVincenzo trade because it didn't happen. And we can't talk about the Buddy Hield for Kyle Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell trade because it didn't happen. So the reality is you have no trades. You have so little like background to speak on. And where do we put the trust in what's happened so far and believe that this is the decision makers that need to make the next one? And so I think you put yourself in a really bad position by being this bad so early in the season. It takes away a lot. We can't even get to December 15th when trades officially, can happen with players that were added during the summer. We haven't even got to that point, and you're already looking at this team and going, okay, do I have am I going to be counting lottery balls now? And where does this go? Are we going to spend 45, 50 games of Neemias Queta, Luke King, Damian Jones, Chimezie Metu, Davion Mitchell, Jamias Ramsey, Robert Woodard? Is that what we're going to see for the final 40, 45 games of the season? And that's pretty disappointing because I don't think that's where anyone thought this team was heading at the beginning of the year.
No, it definitely is not. You spoke about all of the flaws that Buddy has on the floor. And to me, he's complete. Like, I don't know what organization looks at him and goes, yeah, we want that guy. Yeah, he's going to make us a winner. He's going to be better for us. But what about the scene at the end of the game that has really pissed off a lot of Kings fans? And that's Buddy and Tristan Thompson being at center court with Anthony Davis hosting an episode of Def Comedy Jam.
Yeah. I think at least Tristan Thompson left his mask on for most of it. And those are longtime friends. So you're okay with them at least having a conversation. But at the same time, Buddy just looked so much more excited to go talk to Anthony Davis than he did in defending anyone on the court. And that's a problem. I mean, it almost feels like he thinks he's still going there. That's what it's looked like. That's what it looked like the last time they played too, that he just was trying to show them how good he was. I don't know. I mean, he goes 1 of 7 from the field and he just shot them out of the game. And he's done that so many times already this season that this isn't like a new trend. This is like, we're not talking about small sample sizes at this point. There's too many times he's done it. So how many times do you have this same exact issue play out again and again? And again, he's not the only one that, like, I wrote about it. There are plenty of people that need to take blame for what's happening here. And it's all the way to the top and all the way down to the bottom. I mean, there are so many things that have to get better at this point. And I just don't know that you can get better in the middle of the season when things unfold like this so quickly.
I want to stay on Buddy Hield situation real quick because like you talked about weeks ago, James, let me just preference it. I always want to do because people always get it twisted. Seems like a great guy. I've met him on a couple different occasions, nothing too long, but he was very pleasant. Good man. This has nothing to do with him personally. Talented basketball player. I think he has talent. But when it comes to team basketball and winning, James, you said it perfectly. He sucks the life out of this team. He absolutely sucks the life out of this team. And there's no way, Davion mentioned, there's no way Miami or Boston would touch a player like Buddy Hield. And I got to ask the question, and I have my own feelings. You don't have to answer it. I'll say it myself, though. Guy doesn't care about winning. He cares about being a good basketball player and scoring buckets. But when it comes to winning, you can't get smacked around by the Lakers in the second half, get picked on, and sit up there and laugh and joke and everything. You can't blow a game against the Scranton 52ers and then at the end of that game want to go over there and talk to Doc Rivers like it's all good. There's nothing about him that says, I care about winning. I agree with you. It's less of a question and more of a statement. I agree with you and Davion. You can't play this guy anymore. He doesn't need to be here, but obviously if you want to wait till December 15, do whatever you want to do. But you can't play this guy if you're Alvin Gentry.
Yeah, and I'll point out too, James isn't a guest on this show anymore. He's just the third co-host when he's here. So he's like he's with us the rest of the day. Like it's D'Lo, Casey, and James the rest of the way.
Yeah. Okay. So look, I know Buddy cares. Like I've had so many conversations with him. I know he cares.
About what? Clarify it.
Well, at this point, I see a lot of stat hunting. I see it, and that's not okay. And I think when Vlade signed him to his contract, his big extension, which was a 4-year, $86 million extension that everyone wanted to call $100 million, and everyone wanted to say, oh, it's $94 million because all of his incentives are easy to obtain. Well, we're watching that unfold. He's trying to obtain the incentives. And so he gets incentive money for hitting a certain amount of 3-point shots. He gets incentive money for playing, I think it's over 70 games in a season. He gets incentive money for shooting over 85% from the free throw line. So we're looking at this as part of the problem. When they're getting thumped and he's already gone 1 for 10 from the field, well, he's saying, hey, leave me in the game, leave me in the game. And so he can get an extra 3-3-pointers up and score 14 points, even though they got lambasted. And the reason they got lambasted is because he went 1 for 10 from the field in the first half. So it's like this never ending cycle. So I know he does care. And this is the other thing I'll say. I don't think the Kings have the culture in place to deal with this type of player. We talk about like the negative, the angry, the, cantankerous guy that you don't want to take a risk on if you're the Sacramento Kings because you don't have the culture for people to keep him in check. Well, I think we're seeing that is the problem. Like the players, they keep passing it to him. Like I'm not passing it to him.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, well, I watched De'Aaron Fox just go stand in the corner. Those were play sets run for Davion Mitchell to go and do his thing. The one thing I'll say about Davion, I mean, he was nice in the first half and he goes 3 of 14 from the field. He shot the most shots out of anybody in the game for the Kings, which I was stunned by. 14 was the most shots taken, but also 14 were taken by Davion Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
I went back and watched. He's ready to shoot. No one else is ready. Everyone is standing there, needs a dribble, needs to think about it. Davion's ready. Now, whether it goes in or not, that's a whole nother question. But the fact that he's ready, that tells me a lot about him and the fact that he's listening and the fact that you can see that there is coaching going on and he's very coachable and some people aren't. He's ready and he's just waiting. His hands are in the right position. He's catching, he's firing. Does he need work on some things? Sure. Does he need to understand that you do not go up against Dwight Howard and Anthony Davis in the post? You're just going to get blocked? Sure. But that's a rookie mistake that he made on a couple of occasions. He had some bad turnovers. He dribbled the ball too much. But at the same time, I'm okay with those mistakes. He's a first-year player. That's not what we're dealing with, Buddy. I don't know if he's 6 or 7 years, whatever it is. And, I think the other thing that stood out, Alvin Gentry said the other night, because someone asked him about Buddy Hield specifically, what are your feelings on Buddy Hield? He said, I'm the guy who drafted him. So, hey, not only are you on the hook for what's happening right now, you're the guy who drafted him in New Orleans, even though you traded him real quick. Like, if you want to make that statement, like, hey, I'm going to back him, I drafted him, that's fine. But
bold strategy, Alvin.
Them are tombstone words. Like someone sitting there, ding, ding, ding. You're chiseling those into your tombstone right now. I drafted him. I mean, like that's complete ownership. But at the same time, like I don't know that I would have taken that ownership. Like,
really, that damn Dell Demps. That's that damn Dell Demps one. I tried to make it work. James Ham's hanging out with us the rest of the way. We'll come back. We're gonna fix this. We've got almost 2 hours. We're gonna fix the Sacramento Kings. The three of us. We're gonna do it here. As D'Lo, KC, and James Ham continue on Sacramento's #1 sports station, ESPN 1320. I'm gonna step out 1 second, guys.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh boy. So yeah, James, that's what I mean. I think Buddy cares about being really good at basketball. I think he cares about that. And you ask all those guys, they'd rather win than lose. Yeah, and care in that respect. But I think Buddy is one of those guys that wants to win his way.
He's not willing. Yeah, he's not willing to do what it takes to win. He's not. I mean, that's like you need all kinds of players on your team, but you also need your really good players to be willing to do what it takes to get the win, to whatever that might be. And even for Buddy, why he's not used as a decoy more often, I don't understand.
Wow.
Like the fear of Buddy is much greater than the reality of Buddy at this point.
Yeah.
Like I mean, that's just. And I don't think I don't want to just say this is all on Buddy, but there are so many times this year where it has been him either disappearing in the first half or him disappearing in the second half. Or even we'll go back to the Philadelphia game where he had 16 points in the first half and ran -8 because he left his man open every single time. And maybe he would respond, well, they're all bad shooters, so I was trying to help. It's like, well, no, that's not. It was like it's mental lapses on the court. Like be in the moment and calm down. So, we talk a little bit like you're doing too much, you're doing too little thing. That's what a lot of it is. Like I'd even talk to former coaches who say, you love his spirit and you love like what he brings, his energy and everything, and how hard he works and how hard he hustles. But at the same time, like he just can't stop talking in the middle of a huddle when you're trying to run a play. And then you send your team out onto the court and he's just he's hyping his team in the wrong way. Like, we can't mess this up. We can't mess this up. We got to do it right. We can't mess it up. And then they mess it up. You know, he adds like an additional layer of pressure. And to be honest, like what I was saying there are teams in the league that their culture can handle that. They'll hammer him until he does not do what he's doing. But that's not the culture of the Kings. And like to me, it's a bummer because I really do think that, you know, that things could have worked out differently here. But again, I like it. Yeah. Are you telling me you would still give up Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley, and 2 first-round picks for Ben Simmons when you know that this team could win the lottery and there's some studs?
Picks. Hey, you little Sacramento.
I thought I was playing
on this depressing Wednesday.
I thought I was playing. We got to get these for the James Ham Bar, the McQueen and Violet Fog cups.
Ooh.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I need some liquor in here too. I mean, I've got a lot of liquor, but
yeah, just turn the camera around, James. It's all over there.
Yeah, I do have a lot of liquor hiding over there. Yeah,
but you brought something that was like perfect too. So the lead is growing by the Lakers, right? You're down, you lost the lead, and they run the play for Buddy. What? De'Aaron's out there. I think Rashawn is still out there. And you're like running that little sorry screen up top at the top of the 3-point line, trying to get him open. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
You know what part of it is too? That that you basically have this weird situation where you only run pick and rolls with De'Aaron Fox with Harrison Barnes. And then Harrison Barnes isn't there and you don't have a way to run it. So they're running, you can watch, they're running pick and rolls with Davion and Chimezie Metu. They're running
Hang on
pick
one
and rolls.
second, guys. We're coming back. Sorry. Steelo and KC and James Ham here on ESPN 1320. Casey, I want to pick up that conversation right where we were. You and James were having a conversation about the Buddy taking those ill-advised shots, but you had mentioned that they were running the play for Buddy.
Yeah.
And James, you started to dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think with this team, it's very interesting what we've seen so far. They pair off with their pick and roll partners. So each player, each guard has like a pick and roll partner. And so we've seen it with Buddy and Alex Len, which has been really good. Alex Len has a way of clearing space at the top of the key to get Buddy Hield an open look. We've seen the Tyrese Halliburton and Rashawn Holmes connection, which I think is why we saw Alvin Gentry go with at the 5-minute mark of the first quarter and the 5-minute mark of the third quarter. He pulled both Halliburton and Holmes so he can come back with them as this huge lob threat that they love to go to. And then the other is De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes. Unfortunately for Fox, Harrison Barnes isn't there. And so it looks like A, he doesn't have his partner, and B, no one else stepped up to be that partner. And so you're having some issues with Fox not getting screens, with Fox getting screens on the wrong side because some of the younger guys who are stepping in and playing minutes don't realize that he's left-handed and he likes to go left every time. That's like an old Willie Cauley-Stein thing that would happen where Willie would accidentally set the pick on the wrong side every single time. So there are things that happen on the court, but at the same time, you almost watch like this team is taking turns having their moments. And then when Buddy does come in, it's his time, and it doesn't matter who's on the court with him. He's just doing whatever he's going to do, trying to get up his shots. And sometimes, that works, but a lot of times it just doesn't. And that's why we keep seeing these huge, huge swings. And it's deflating for your team when like 5 shots in a row don't go. Like or
deflating for your team when 5 possessions in a row, you don't touch the ball. It's one pass shot.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen that with Rashawn Holmes, where Rashawn Holmes, he got really angry. You could tell the one game where I think he was up to 19 at the end of the third quarter. He was incredible. It was against Drummond, where he went 8 minutes in the fourth quarter, didn't touch the ball once, and didn't have a rebound. And again, they lose to Philadelphia because you had something that was working, and then you went away from what was working. And again, teams make adjustments, so it's not always. Yeah, I mean, what did he shoot last night? 12 of 13 from the field.
Yeah,
27 points for Rashawn Holmes.
Yep.
There's a reason why he didn't score 100. It's because that wasn't open 100 times. It wasn't open 50 times for him to score every single time. So this team just has to be smarter. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we'll keep coming back to again and again all season, that the IQ of this team still isn't there. And just the overall IQ, and a lot of players play into that. It's not just Buddy Hield. But, they also, when things go bad, they have a, oh no, here we go again thing that happens almost every single time. And, you see it, you feel it coming. It's like, oh boy, here we go. And until they figure out how to get out of that, or somebody keeps calling timeouts again, like they could have been more proactive there in the third quarter and started yelling and screaming to get that team going. And maybe it would have worked. Maybe it wouldn't have. But
no one on this team yells and screams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Rashawn Holmes does when he has a dunk.
Yeah.
But again, it's got to be outside of that. It's got to be yelling and screaming all the time. And, again, they're shorthanded, but I'm not going to make that as an excuse. LeBron James wasn't there. And so there is no more excuses at this point. You need to win basketball games. And if you can't figure out how to win, then like what Alvin said, then he's got to try someone else, because at least then you're losing with players that you should be losing with, and not losing with players that should be better than this.
Let's go to the business of basketball.
The
business of basketball.
I'm so sick and tired of seeing this group play. And I've always been anti-tank and all this other stuff. Part of that came from, I felt like, no, you can't tank with De'Aaron Fox on the roster. That doesn't make any sense. So that's where I get the idea of like not winning so you can get a high draft pick. And it's not a crazy thought. But I've typically been all anti-tank. I'm just so tired of seeing this group. I wouldn't, if they traded these guys away and bottomed out for a high pick or took a bunch of picks, took the Presti route, I wouldn't be against it. Davion asked the question, and I'm not sure. You're going to be asking the fan base to wait another 5 years. Are there more people like me that just don't want to see this group together anymore, that they'll take the 5 years? Or are there people, in your opinion, who are like, well, no, you can't do that. I'm not waiting another 5 years. Where do you kind of feel like this fan base is at this point?
Well, I think the attendance numbers tells you where they are. I mean, if the Lakers fans weren't there, how many fans showed up last night? I mean, that's a problem. And, it's a self-made problem a lot of the time. You just couldn't get out of your way time and time again. We've talked about that. So, every time that there was an opportunity for this team to be really, really good, they took a sidestep or they took a step backwards, and self-inflicted wounds. Michael Malone, self-inflicted wound. Not retaining Bogdan Bogdanovic, self-inflicted wound. And like every step of the way, self-inflicted wounds. And the one thing I'll say is that they do pay the money. Like Vivek, the payroll's $130 million this year. And that's a problem when this team is this bad, and almost every single player on your team outside of like Chimezie Metu and Damian Jones is under contract next year. Maybe Robert Woodard and Jamias Ramsey. Everyone else is under contract next year. So what do you do when this is your core and your core is not good enough? And I think that's where we're at this point, that this team just isn't good enough. And so while you say I'm sick and tired of watching this core, well, this core isn't good enough. They need to not be together anymore. That's what it comes down to. If you can't win, then you can't be the core. That's, them's are the rules. You got to move on. If you're the team, you have to figure out a way to do it. Now, I'm not advocating trading De'Aaron Fox and advocating trading Rashawn Holmes and Tyrese Halliburton. But at this point, I think anyone else should be on the table. Like it's an unfortunate situation, but if you need to take a half step back, not do a full blown up thing, but take a step back and start collecting first round picks for guys like Harrison Barnes, then I think that's probably the best move. Like if this is who you are, maybe I'll give you another 10 games, 15 games to show me that this isn't who you are. But as of right now, I mean, you just keep showing us this is who you are. And someone asked in the chat, it's a good question. Is there something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about? No, not that I've heard at all. And I'll tell you this, like Rashawn Holmes was very, very upset last night and very passionate. And he said, behind here, we are all confident. We are all confident that we can win. We're all confident that we're in this together. We're all playing. We're all trying to do the right thing. We had a good shoot around. We had good practices. At the end of the day, we got to stop talking about it. We just have to do it. And I get that, but
that confidence doesn't show on the floor, James.
Well, my point though is that there isn't a fracture behind the scenes that I've seen, and we're not allowed behind the scenes like we used to be because of COVID. So we're not in the locker room all the time, and so that's a problem. Well, we're never in the locker room, but we are on the practice floor when there is practice and stuff. Like the month of December, I'll be at the arena like every single day. It's just going to be. What do they play? Like 11 out of 13 at home, and the only 2 road games are to Golden State and I think the Lakers again. That's it. The whole like
Clippers games.
Oh, Clippers. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a huge stretch. Well, that means there's practice every other day. And wherever there's not a game, if they're not back to back, we have practice the next day. So we're going to be there a lot. We're going to get a better vibe on who this team is behind the scenes. But everything I've seen from this team is that they're a good group of guys who enjoy each other. They just can't figure out how to be a good basketball team.
They're just bad.
They're just bad.
Sorry, Casey.
Maybe.
And look, and no, because I interrupted you, Davion, but I just wanted to say, you know what? The fact that there isn't a fracture is a bit of a problem in itself, because you're stinking it up. You're not a winning team. You're embarrassing yourself on a nightly basis now. And we're happy. We're not happy. I'm not saying that, but no, we're good. Let's go to the movies, guys. Like, no, like I got a problem with what's going on, if I'm in that locker room, and if you're not doing that, if you're giving me my bad and we're still doing this, no, there is a bit of a fracture going on. We got a problem. Like, that's kind of the issue with this group. Like, nobody says they don't like each other. It's clear they like each other. They get along. It don't translate. It doesn't translate. And the fact that there isn't some type of fracture is a bit of a problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. And to me, that, like, where's the self-regulation? Because, I mean, Alvin Gentry should be able to rein in. I think Alvin Gentry should have a quicker hook, right? And I thought Luke Walton should have had a quicker hook. I'm not going to do the live by the buddy, die by the buddy. I'm just not doing it. So, I mean, it's too many years of the same exact thing. If you can't learn by your mistakes, we've talked about this before, like, you don't have to make the mistakes yourself, but you need to learn from the mistakes. You can learn from other people making mistakes. Something I teach my boys all the time. Hey, we can watch that kid do that stupid thing and go, yeah, he just broke his ankle. I'm not doing that. Or we can watch him break his ankle and we can go over and do the same thing and break our ankle too. Like, we can be dumb. Well, this team not only do they not learn from their own mistakes, they don't learn from watching other people make mistakes. They just seem to like be void of like progression. I think each individual player has progressed, but as a team, they have not progressed. And that's a scary thing. Like, it doesn't matter who's running this team. They aren't progressing. And, we can say that about, even Dave Yeager had some seasons where they didn't look like they were really progressing. His last season, he'll tell you, was all smoke and mirrors. And there was no way that team was going to be able to hold that thing together like they were doing. But then the next year, there just was no progression. They didn't have the ability to take what they're doing and move it forward. And I guarantee you this, I haven't looked at the exact number, but we've heard Alvin Gentry say pace about like 700 times. It's one of those words like over the course of time, I almost want to have tattooed on myself from this team that they talk about pace. I think their pace is gone down since he took over as head coach, and it certainly hasn't skyrocketed. It might look like they're moving faster. The numbers don't tell the same story. The pace has not gotten better. So again, it's they're not practicing what they're saying. And I want a player to walk over to Buddy Hield and say, "Don't do that ever again. You do that again, I will never pass you again." That's it. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to let you do that to our team. And until someone says that to him, I just don't know. And he's going to think it's funny and it's a joke. And then you grab him by the collar of his shirt and you look in his eyes and you tell him, "If you do that again, I will be the one setting the back pick on you at half court. I'll pick my own player and knock you down." Like, don't do it. Like that was so unacceptable. And so again, that's a symptom of a much larger problem. And so you got to get to what the larger problem is, which, this team has a lot of them, but it's that kind of behavior is acceptable. And it's something that players around him aren't saying, "Dude, like, them are fine words. Yeah, I'm going to hit you with a chair myself."
Right. And if we fight, we fight.
Yeah, if we fight, we fight.
Like Mike Tyson said, it's a fight anyway.
How were there's two such? By the way, we mentioned this yesterday. I don't want to forget. Would your wife be interested in taking up a class action lawsuit on behalf of Sacramento Kings fans who brought up the idea of suing for emotional distress yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, my wife doesn't do that kind of law, but I mean, I think that there's some sort of case there. Like, I mean,
in the right direction for somebody.
Yeah, she definitely could find you an attorney that could do that. But
I mean,
yeah.
Isaiah came up, then Pete came, and then like this, the conversation got bad yesterday, and Miss P asked like, "Hey, you think we could sue for emotional distress?" And I remember your wife's an attorney. Maybe we could get this done.
And you know what? My back hurts right now, James.
Hey, like,
it's carrying the weight of this show every day. That's why your back hurts.
Yeah, but I also like people's jobs are at stake, not just the people who like work for them, but like, I'm no longer at NBC because this team couldn't pull themselves out of their funk, and they just decided to not continue to throw money down a well. Like that's a reality, and I'm not the only one. Like the media scene is slim. Although the Lakers were in town, so it was like it was a good night.
Were out yesterday.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. There was a lot of
It was out of Kenny's cookies. They didn't have the cookies Kenny gets before the game.
Yeah, I mean, any night that Amick has been a lot more games lately, but you have Mark Spears, Chris Haynes was there. The media contingency from LA was deep. Getting to see Bill Oram for the first time in a while. He is one of the funniest dudes ever. It was big last night, but I think we're seeing fewer and fewer, and we're only gonna get smaller media contingencies too. The local media contingency, it's down to it's bare bones. Like there used to be, Marshall Harrison and Sarah at every game and every practice, and Joe Musso and and Lena Washington. It's leaned down where we're just a skeleton crew trying to cover a team that they can't figure it out.
And the crazy thing about businesses, like Lena leaves, Joe leaves, Marshall leaves, they don't replace them. It's like, nah, Sean, you could do it. You got it, Sean, and
he has Kevin.
Sarah, you could do it. And Kevin, that's Kevin. Yeah, like y'all got it. Go ahead.
Yeah,
get to all those practices and all those games and shoot all the footage. And Jason Jones, we're gonna move you over to cover the entire league and the culture aspect for the Athletic. And it's tough. Meanwhile, we're here, we're kicking, doing our thing. The Kings Herald are doing their thing. Matt George got broken. They destroyed Matt George over on the Locked On Network, and it's it's amazing. It's amazing that this fan base just they're gonna hurt you, But year after year, here they are.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Matt George's. I was wrong. We need Luka.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, he's turned heel on Marvin Bagley.
My
He's
bad.
absolutely...
We need Luka. I don't know what song to put it to, but he's talented. He's got some pipes, but
Let's not get carried away.
Yeah.
Let's not blow up Matt George head too much, because then he's already threatened to come on here and drop Drake bars with
Oh,
Kenny,
no.
and that could get a little dicey.
Bars. That's
Wow.
That could get a little dicey.
Awesome.
How did we see? Sorry, Casey. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You.
How did we see two such dramatically different halves yesterday? Like you were, I think, I don't remember if you used the exact phrase, but it was beautiful in the first half. Ball was moving. Guys were, I think I saw defense being played. Like there was some wild things happening there in the first half, and it didn't go to hell coming straight out of halftime. It took a couple of minutes before it went to hell.
I think with 8 minutes left in the second quarter, they had 7 steals, and I'm not sure what they finished with, but it wasn't much more than that. Yeah, they finished with 11. So in the final, 30 something minutes, they stopped with the steals. They stopped being active. And then the Lakers, the Lakers are a veteran team. The Kings were overplaying. They were jumping the passing lanes. And then when you do that, a veteran team tends to, take care of your over aggression by punishing you with, little back cuts and harder screens and just quicker ball movement. And so I think that was part of it. Overall, even most of the players, I thought there was a bunch of times where I thought, why are you not running a double team at Anthony Davis? Like run the double team earlier. And they were kind of hedging, and then they would somewhat run a double team at him. But then it's like, man, Chimezie Metu, he looked like he was jumping off a trampoline on the offensive end, and on the defensive end, like Anthony Davis is a great player. I mean, he's on his way to a Hall of Fame career, and you're going to run him out there against Chimezie Metu one-on-one. That's not fair to Chimezie. That's not on him. So I don't know. It's just, you feel like these moments where everything's going well and they don't embrace success at all, and they're waiting for the failure to start happening. And when they see the failure, then their heads go down, and it's some, Charlie Brown kicking the can stuff.
And that's a perfect segue to what I wanted to ask you as well. We talk about somebody like De'Aaron Fox, and I said this earlier, James, and I want to know what you think about it. I said, typically, I could be wrong, there's two type of people when they get frustrated or they get upset with losing or things going wrong, whatever. The one person kind of goes overboard with the aggression and tries to will the change, and they get super aggressive physically and on the basketball court and all this other stuff, super aggressive. The other person just checks out. It becomes overwhelming, and they just do the exact opposite. They just kind of stop and just say, I can't do this. I've checked out. I feel like De'Aaron Fox, if he's frustrated, if that's what the issue is, I think he's the latter. And it feels like, could be wrong, not in these guys' heads, haven't had a conversation with them, but he looks like in those moments when it's like, here we go again, he doesn't get more aggressive. He just, here it goes again. I'm checked out. And that's what I saw yesterday. And do you think do you see the same thing from De'Aaron Fox in those moments?
Okay, first up, you missed the third one. I'm just going to go laugh at the team that kicked my behind. You missed. There's that guy too. There's that guy who's like, hey, that happened. Woo! Yeah, you missed that one. So I think there's 3. I think there's at least 3 types, with the third being that. Look, I don't think De'Aaron Fox knows how to or wants to learn how to deal with losing. And I am not on this is all De'Aaron Fox fault, bandwagon. I'm just not. I know he cares. I know he wants to be there. I know he wants to be great. He is so frustrated that it's not happening and that it's taking this long for him to get going. And so when I see him on the sidelines and he's angry, and he looks. It's not disinterest. I think that it can look like disinterest. It's someone who doesn't know how to express himself in that situation. Like, he wants to punch something. He's so frustrated, but it's just he doesn't know how.
But that's what. But not to cut you off, but that's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying he's not frustrated. There's the two people. The one person that's frustrated and punched something, and the other person that's frustrated and just deadpans. And
But
he's deadpan.
In that situation, though, I don't think, if you go back and watch the game, he tried to pick it up a bunch of times and he turned the ball over. He made mistakes, which made it worse on himself. And he started to feel like part of it was his fault. And he was on the court when the big swing happened, he was on the court the whole time. Halliburton and Rashawn Holmes had gone to the bench. It was him and Davion and Alex Lynn and Buddy Hield and Shemezi. It was that group. And so Fox is on the court when it's happening, but then the play sets ran the other way. And so it was almost like he wasn't able to take over and like put his stamp on it. And maybe he needs to be more direct and say, look, give me the ball. I want it now. But at the same time, he's also the guy that already knew that he turned the ball over 7 times. So he knew that he'd had his chance and he had screwed up and he wanted it again. But I thought he was engaged defensively. People can say, oh, Russell Westbrook did this or that. He did a lot of that against Buddy Hield in switches. I can guarantee you that. And he also had moments where he got screened by big old Dwight Howard and Chimezi Metu or whoever was playing the 4 or the 5 just weren't sliding over and helping him on the pick and roll. And I think that that's been a problem with this team all season long. The bigs are not sliding and they're not helping out the guards nearly enough. And it's leaving the guards on an island and then having the opposing guard running downhill at a big man with a center or a power forward running alongside him. Now you got a 2-on-1 situation. The guard's is peeling himself off the ground over on the sidelines. So I think that there is like some scheme issues that we still haven't worked out with the new defensive coordinator and stuff. But like, I don't want to put it all on Fox. Like, again, I live in a house with 2 introverts. And I can tell you that my son cared like so much on the soccer field and did not know how to express it at all. And when he was young, that meant that he would like emotionally shut down or start breaking down because he couldn't handle it. He didn't know how to control it. But he's also super quiet, so he doesn't know how to vocalize it. And I think a lot of it is that Fox does not know how to vocalize it properly. He does not know how to hide it. He does not know how to take 5 seconds before he walks into the media session, take a deep breath, not put a smile on your face because you just got your butt kicked, but understand that our job and your job are, my job is to ask you a question. Your job is to answer those questions the best you can. And all you're doing is making yourself look bad if you don't take that extra little bit of time to take a deep breath and understand that what's about to happen, isn't going to be comfortable for anybody, but it's part of the experience. And he's an engaging young guy. He should be better in those media sessions when things have gone bad. And, so Rashawn Holmes had one game where he lost it. He was not good in post game. It lasted like 45 seconds and he was angry and bitter. Last night we saw him go, okay, I can't do that again. I've got to be better with the media and I have to, stand up for my team, but also take ownership of what's happened. And I think that there are just some players that they can't do it. That's not who they are. And it's not that they don't want to take accountability. It's that they can't, that's just not their personality, if that makes sense. Like me, I can go and talk to anybody anytime. You guys see it. Everyone in the chat sees it. Everyone on the radio hears it. Like, I don't have any problems walking to any room and talking to everybody. And I've got one of those in my house too. My 14-year-old's just like me. He literally looks like a little mini me, and I could just bring him anywhere, and his vocabulary is nuts, and everything that comes out of his mouth is crazy. But that's not what my 18-year-old is like, and that's certainly not what my wife is like. So we have to respect that a little bit, and we can want more, but you also have to know that, like, not every great player has always been a great interview. That's just not the way it works. Some guys are. I mean, again, I've talked about it a million times. The Spurs, every single guy that came out was just like, this is just the greatest thing I've ever heard. But there are other teams that you just, man, I just waited all that time for James Harden and got nothing. You know, there are some guys that just are good at it.
Is it less their communication with like you or us or the media, and isn't De'Aaron's communication with his teammates more important? Because it feels like that's lacking too.
I don't think that's lacking. I think his teammates know and respect and like him.
Well, like, no, I'm not. I'm talking about his communication skills, though. I'm not talking about whether he's respected or liked. Rashawn and De'Aaron were both asked about this last night, probably by you, about how communication just seemed to disappear there in the second half. And I can't think of a game where I've watched De'Aaron Fox really be active vocally when things are kind of spiraling out of control like they did in the third quarter last night.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I would want to see him be more animated with some of his teammates and hold people accountable more. But I think that's part of the maturation process. Like, he's never going to be the rah, get in everyone's face, scream and yell. He's not going to be that guy, but he can be some sort of version of that guy. And like, there's a quirkiness and like a cockiness to De'Aaron that everyone knows if you spend any time with him. Like, he's fun to be around, and his teammates do like him, and, you know, they will listen to him, and they know that when he does talk, it's usually meaningful. But that doesn't change the fact that he's more of an introvert than he is an extrovert, where Buddy, you know, is a total extrovert, and, you know, Tristan Thompson is a total extrovert. Like, those guys, they have an ability to just go out and talk, and that sometimes that does play out on the court. But I see him coaching his teammates. I see him listening. And so I don't think it's that he's just non-vocal, and especially on the court, the big guys are the ones who are running the defense from behind. So you'll see a little bit of a guard yelling, like, call the screen or whatever, or, switch and stuff like that. But the big guys are directing traffic. Like, Rashawn Holmes mans the defense, and Alex Len and Tristan Thompson, they're calling the defensive sets and everything else from behind.
Yeah. You just got to be better. And I understand all the psychological stuff and dealing with things differently. But even aside from all that, the interviews and the communication, like if this thing is spiraling out of control, I don't want you running a play for Buddy Hield. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to say, like you just talked about, like, I can't have him getting in the way of, I turned the ball over 3 times, so now I'm not going to shoot or I'm not going to be aggressive. No. No, the answer is not to fall back and let Buddy take over. Like, I'd rather live by the fox and die by the fox, which I think is essentially kind of what they do right now. Because I asked the question earlier, you asked me this, James, does this team take on, and you would know better than maybe both of us because you're around them, this team take on the personality of Rashawn Holmes or De'Aaron Fox?
Well, I mean, Fox is your best player. Rashawn Holmes is your heart and soul. I think each of them have like a different hat that they wear. And I think that's the way it is with a lot of teams. Like, your most versatile player it's Halliburton, but it's also Harrison Barnes. He's the guy that can defend multiple positions. Like, I don't know. I can't, it's certainly not Rashawn Holmes's team, but he's literally the heart and soul of it. So when he's gone, there's that horrible void that's missing. And you have some of the guys who have that type of personality that can be sort of a heart and soul type of player here and there. But, I think when you look at most teams are set up where you have like your spokesman, which with this team is either Tristan or it's Harrison sometimes, or when things are going well, it's Tyrese Halliburton because he's so engaging. But like, each of those personalities are different. And I think they really do have, there's a good blend. There's just not that. I still don't think there's that dog, that guy who pushes buttons and, the Draymond Green type. And I don't know that every team has that. You would hope that, most teams would, and you can see them
Westbrook type.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but
Hey,
more
who
like
took over in the second half yesterday?
LeBron.
Shout out to Miss P, by the way, who sent the clip that we were talking about earlier. James, I'm sure you saw this. There was a point like where the Lakers were making that run. Russ is going to the foul line. The camera catches Russ. He knew the Kings were done. You could see him talking to Anthony Davis going to the foul line. He knew game was over at that point.
And Russ is what I'm talking about. Russ was not good in the first half last night. Russ hasn't been good. Sorry, Davion. A lot of times this year.
Okay, we get it.
I'm just saying. But you're never going to see. I don't see typically Russ lose his aggression. Like he's just going to keep coming. And if I go 2 of 22, then that's just what it is. But I'm not gonna take 9 shots tonight. I know that. You know what I'm saying? We just gonna keep going. And that's like all the talking and everything. That would be great. I accept that's not who he is. I'm just going to the basketball court now. And I can't have him taking 9 shots in a game. I can't have him losing his aggression because he's frustrated or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I get some of that. And, you know, the physicality of Russ is something that everyone wants De'Aaron to get to. I just don't know if he's ever going to be that guy because they're so different. Like I've always said that if you look at their career trajectories, De'Aaron Fox, Russell Westbrook are almost identical through the first like 4 or 5 years of their career. And actually Fox was even a little ahead. But the personality difference is huge. And Russ can't be like the number one. He can be your best player. He can't be the number one personality on your team either.
Mm-hmm.
That's not like the complete package that you're looking for. But how forceful he plays with, I think it's something that his teammates feed off of, and that De'Aaron could use a lot more of. And you're not going to get a perfect player at 23. And I think so. Some of this is patience. And I'm like a lot of people, I've seen it. A lot of people are, let's give up on De'Aaron. I'm not willing to I'm not even remotely close to it's time to move on from De'Aaron Fox mode. And a lot of people are, let's just trade De'Aaron for Ben Simmons. Like I would take Ben Simmons on the Kings, but I'm certainly not trading. Like that's just rolling a very that's rolling the dice in a way that as a Kings franchise, I don't think you can do. You just have De'Aaron to get better, and you have to put the pieces around him to help him succeed. And right now, when your whole entire team isn't hitting 3-pointers, it really makes things difficult for De'Aaron. It makes it difficult for guys even like Harrison Barnes and guys like Rashawn Holmes that count on that spacing for pick and rolls. But everybody has to be better. And I think that's something that Halliburton said, I just got to be better. And that's something I look at him and I'm, okay, you got to get better, but then don't go out that night and go 2 for 10 and be timid. But the fact that he shot one more shot than Fox, but we're also, I think Fox went to the line a bunch as well.
He did. Yeah. He was 8 of 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was 8 of 9. Davion shooting 14 shots and 8 threes. It's still a while. And again, we look at a lot of the things that we were frustrated with about the Kings, kind of changed. They only took 29 threes, which it's progress. It still feels like a lot when you only hit 6 of them. But given the fact that we've seen this team, be 6, 7 of 41, 42, 43 on a pretty regular basis, it was like, all right, there's progress here. It felt like, again, it was 2 different games wrapped up into one. And the most frustrating part about all of it, James, is like, I know who the team was in the second half. Who the hell was the team in the first half?
Yeah, no.
Who were they?
I'm with you. So that's a horrible struggle to figure out who this team is. Hey, I'm just so everyone knows, I'm looking at the injury report. Marvin Bagley is out tonight. He has a non-COVID related illness, which he had yesterday. And Harrison Barnes is out again, which I expected. And then Mo Harkless is actually questionable again. They could really use Mo Harkless. Although I think Paul George is not playing tonight.
Paul George is out.
Which of course
the Pistons. He's not playing for rest. Literally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would rest him too. Kings. Then again, I'd let him go for 50. Yeah, I'd let him go for 50 because the Kings don't have anyone that can guard him.
The Clippers aren't even good. And they like, yeah, let's just rest them.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Like throw Liu King at Paul George? Because I mean that's where you're at. I don't know what to do in that situation.
I think
So
everybody looks at the team and goes, it doesn't matter.
well, it's if they show up, they show up. If they don't show up, then I mean they can lose any game, but there are also the possibility that they can win any game.
And the best part, well, at least, and we're at this point, at least it's on the road.
I know. What is their road record now? I mean, their home versus
Is it 5-5?
road. Yeah, their road record's not bad, but I mean, what do they have? They have eight wins.
I'm working on this
14.
now.
Yeah, they're 8-14. So
They won 2 games at all. Is it 2 or 3?
I think it's 3. I think I had them pegged at 3-8. Sacramento 5-6. I'm sorry, they're 5-6 on the road. They're 3-8 at home.
And
3-8 at home.
Portland and Charlotte.
Yeah, 3-8 at home is just totally unacceptable. And it's not just home losses. Like a bunch of the losses at home have just been stinkers, just total stinkers.
Yeah.
So someone asked on here too about a Liz Frank with Harrison Barnes. I have not been told that it's a Liz Frank fracture, which would mean that he would be out for a while. Everything I've heard is that it looks like a short term, that the medical staff was not concerned that it was a long-term thing, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be a week. It's not going to be 2 weeks. We'll just have to wait and see how long he's out. But yeah, I mean, they're going to be shorthanded again until they aren't,
Well, I want to blame more people for
this
8-14 record. So James Ham's going to stick around for the final hour of the show. We're going to come back and we're going to place the blame on someone. I don't even think we mentioned his name yet. That's coming up next here on Sacramento's #1 sports station, ESPN 1320. All right, we're clear, KC.
All right, I'll be right back.
Oh, man.
Terrence Davis.
No. The general manager.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about it in the beginning, but
general manager. I just I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like you. I don't think I've turned on anyone. I've never been a Buddy fan. I honest to God don't get it. And I've questioned my own basketball intelligence when talking about Buddy Hield and trying to evaluate Buddy Hield. But I just have to accept that everybody else is wrong and I'm right. Because we putting out graphics about his percentage with people guarding him and all of these different things. And you see Steph and you see Buddy. And I think Grayson Allen, I can't remember who's third in terms of made threes. And it's like, y'all, I'm not falling for this. I watch this dude play every night, or figuratively every freaking night. Y'all aren't going to fool me into believing he's in the same category as Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time.
Yeah, no, that's not the case at all. He is a very good 3-point shooter, but I would say this year feels more streaky than any other.
He's 37% right now.
Yeah, but look at his shooting from the field.
His shooting from the field is non-existent, isn't it? His shooting from the field, he's 39%.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, that's unacceptable. Like,
I mean, 14 field goals per game, 10.5 of them are threes. That trend started. I mean, those are pretty close to the same numbers as last year. Pretty close. Look at James multitasking.
Yeah.
Getting that tweet out.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. That's your work. I was multitasking earlier because I put the Kings beat in front of me. I was trying to. You had referenced it. I wanted to get it in front of me. So.
Oh, I wasn't nice.
No, you weren't.
No, at this point,
you didn't need to be.
Yeah,
I need to be.
I don't need. Yeah, it's not that I've ever needed to be, but at this point, like,
well, there's nothing to be nice about.
Yeah. And, I think that there's something like someone asked, because I put out there, we have the Kings beat happy hour tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people who I said, hey, go ahead and send in questions. Some great questions from people. And one of the questions, man, is it slipping my mind? It was like one of the feedback comments was, "Hey, I'd like more like long form on like player profile type stuff, like people." And that is where we're really like in this time, we're losing that connection where we don't have the ability to go and sit with someone for 20 minutes and do like an in-depth for a long form piece and then go to 2 or 3 of his teammates and a coach and get more on that player from those people.
Yeah.
That's what's missing right now. And so I think that it actually plays into a bigger thing that it makes it more difficult for us to humanize people. And so that's a problem. But there's just there's no way to do it. Like without me doing a podcast and getting someone on a podcast, maybe. But it's very different this like the COVID times, and everything that we get, someone's already live streamed. So
Mm.
it's hard to write something that's
Sorry,
creative.
sorry about that.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay.
hang on, guys.
Yep.
James Ham with D'Lo and KC here. The remainder of the show. It was very awkward to drop D'Lo and KC there in the third person, but that's kind of where we are today. Things have just been weird. I mentioned to James just a moment ago, who's approaching spending half of the show with us, and that's the great thing about having James on here with ESPN 1320, is the tremendous insight that you bring us not only at the King's Beat, but here with us each time you join us. We're trying to kind of figure this thing out. We're trying to figure out the problems with this organization. And we try to make it a point of saying there's not a problem with this organization. There are problems with this organization. There are a lot of flaws in it. And, we've talked about the roster in depth over the course of the last hour or so. Hell, we've talked about the roster for the last 3 hours here on this show, Casey. But I'm going to ask you, James, like, did Monte McNair think entering this season, this I did my part. Now it's up to Luke Walton to do his. Like I did my part. I put together this team. This team is good enough. We've set the expectations pretty freaking low. Not garbage low, but we're asking you to be 10th in a conference of 15th? That's all we're asking. Monte thought like, hey, I did my part. It's up to you guys to do yours.
Yeah, I think so. I think he believed that this team was good enough to get there. And, get there. I don't know what get there means, I guess. Get to the playoffs.
To get to 38 wins. That's all we're talking about.
To get to the postseason. I believe he thought that this team was good enough, deep enough. Did they think that they had problems at the wings? Sure. Did they know they didn't have enough depth, behind Harrison Barnes and Mo Harkless? Yes. But at the same time, they intended to run 3-guard sets all day long. And, I think the worst things that happened in that Lakers game all came during the 3-guard sets issue. And the Lakers just kept going, all right, go ahead and run your 3 guards. We're going to run 2 giants at you and see how you do with that. And then it got ugly. I think he did. I think, I've had enough conversations. I don't think he believes that this was a perfect roster. And he certainly wants to make a big move still, but at the same time, nothing really worked out. They had the big trade that they thought that they had worked out, and then it fell apart at the last second where they were getting Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell. But I'll tell you, if they got that trade done, what did that mean for Richaun Holmes? Was Richaun Holmes coming back? And I'm not sure. And Montrezl Harrell is not as good as Richaun Holmes. He's just not a good defensive player at all. And while he's a nice personality that would have worked really well on this team, I'm not sure that Kuzma would have as far as personality.
I think Alex Lynn would have been the odd one out.
I think Alex Lynn probably would have been the odd man out, but there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees there that you're going to be able to work that out. And I think that probably it probably would have worked, especially it would have meant Davion Jones was the guy who plays against the real big guys. I'm confused why we didn't see Davion Jones when Anthony Davis was going nuts. But, look, I think from top to bottom, this team is much deeper than it was before. It's much deeper than it was last season for sure. And I think this team it's proven that it's closer to a 13-man roster than it is like last year. I thought was like a 6-man roster. And so I think that that's good because even guys like Chimezie Metu and Damian Jones, I think have value. They have value around the league, not trade value, but they have value as in they would be on rosters no matter what. And so I think that that's good. But
all
the
Damians have value.
yeah, the fact that they don't have that they never made the big move is, that's what you're going to go down for being like the guy who didn't. And he's not the only one who said, I'm going to make the big move. Like I've heard it time and time again. Brandon Williams, we would have these weird meetings behind closed doors with Vlade Divac, and Brandon would be there and Vlade would say something. And then Brandon would try to like use his decoder ring and tell us what Vlade was saying, which we all knew Vlade. We knew exactly what he was saying. But he was like, yeah, we think we can turn this into a destination city for free agents. It's like, wow. All right. Like, well, you going to put Disneyland here? Like I don't know. What do you got coming in? Like, is there some gigantic theme park or something that you're going to like change the whole, like, this is not a destination place for free agents. You have to be smart with your free agents. You've got to be smart with your draft picks. And when a big trade comes along, you've got to swing for the fences. And so far, they haven't made that big swing. I mean, Tristan Thompson is the big swing so far, right? That's the biggest, Mo Harkless trade or Terrence Davis trade. I mean, they're all relatively small trades. And I'll also say this. I was talking with Akis from the King's Herald, who's always been amazing. It ran Sacktown Royalty for a decade. And basically, just look what this team would look like if A, they would have just signed Bogdanovich, or B, the DiVincenzo trade would have happened. And then on top of that, if the Montrezl Harrell and Kyle Kuzma trade happened, because those are two separate deals that could have happened, and you could have all of those players right now. And this team would look completely different. It would be much deeper, much longer, more athletic, better defensively. And as of right now, it didn't work out. So, but at the end of the day, you're judged on what you do as a free agent, not what you don't do. And
what you almost do.
Yeah. We can't say, well, he almost pulled off this trade, so let's give him more time. Mm-hmm. Like, no, I mean, the time is now. You need to make trades. You need to have something lined up for December 15th. If that's what you need to wait for. I mean, that's a very specific deadline that only fits like certain amount of players. So the Kings can't trade Alex Lynn. They can't trade Mo Harkless. And I think that's it. Oh, Terrence Davis. They can't trade those three guys before December 15th because they're guys that they signed during the offseason. And other teams around the league have that same issue. But there are tons and tons of players who are already available to be traded, and the Kings haven't, shaken things up. So I think they need to do.
That's one thing I have to remind myself when Kenny and I are talking. They've got to get Buddy out of here, whether they're going to bench him or do whatever. And I have to remind myself, he tried. It's not like Monty doesn't know. Like, he tried. Yeah. I think the downside to the way this, or another downside, if you've been with us through the last couple hours, is general managers are watching this like, he ain't gonna help us. This dude ain't gonna help us over here. Like, we looking around. Oh, a contender's gonna want Buddy. What contender? No contender gonna want Buddy. The dude ain't gonna help you win.
Plus, they're looking at a young GM who has not pulled off the big trade, and they've got him. It's that old adage: if you don't know who the sucker in the room is, then it's you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what another concern is. Like there are teams that are coming out and lowballing, it's like the guy in fantasy football that sends you all the bad trade offers. And you just like, man, do you think I like got hit in the head or something? Like, why would I make this trade? And I think that's what you're still getting a lot of it. So we'll have to see. I mean, he has to be aggressive at this point, but again, I'm not giving up my draft picks. Those are off the table. If I'm talking to him, it's like, hey man, if I'm ownership, like, we got to a point where our draft picks are worth too much. So at least this season, like, you can go ahead and trade the 2023 first rounder and 2025, but you got a better chance of being in the top 5 than you do making a play-in at this point. So, they're off limits now. They're being locked up in the cupboard because you proved that your team wasn't good enough already.
James, what would you do if you were in charge of this team? What's your plan of action? If you're making a move, what's the first move you look to make? What would James Ham do if he was
general manager James Ham here on D-Lo and KC?
Yeah, my first move would be to walk into the locker room and have like the most honest conversation I've ever had, and just tell the team that you got 10 games. You got 10 games to show me that you can pull yourself out of this. I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired of the nonsense. Fix it on the court. And if you can't do that, then none of you in this room should be comfortable. Do not sign an extended lease, because all of you are going to be talked about over the next couple of weeks. And if that's what you want, that's fine. And if you don't want to be here, you can have a conversation with me, and it may not be that I listen. If someone wants to come and say, hey, I want out of here, and it's someone that you have no interest in trading, you can tell them, hey, you're not going anywhere. You're under team control for too long. We're building around you. You need to be quiet and go sit back down and go send in the next guy, because I'm talking to the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. But I would give them 10 more games, and then give Alvin a chance, especially with all the home games coming up, and say, how do we fix this? Then if that doesn't happen and we get close to December 15th, or we're past December 15th at that point, then it's no holds barred. I've got, again, I circled 3 guys on my roster that I'm not going to trade right now, unless I got the Godfather deal, which I don't think the Godfather deal's out there for this team.
De'Aaron, Rashawn, and
Ty. Yeah.
Oh, Tyrese Halliburton. Okay.
Yeah, that would be my 3. And after that, I would say, look, the rest of you, I'm going to try to find some deals that make sense, and we're going to go a different direction. But I don't know. I don't know that they're going to get to that point. And I certainly would look around the league. I would be already on the phone shopping extremely hard and looking for players with punch, looking for guys that want it, and giving up too much to get them. If that's what I got to do, if I've got to give up a little bit more to get somebody who I think is a franchise changer, I think we've got to a point where coming into this year, it's like, hey, look, if someone big came up, if, a Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal came up, like, why not throw our hat in the ring with those guys? At this point, no, that would be foolish. Do not throw good at bad at this point, because that's all you're doing in that situation. Like, your path is set for this year. Don't waste another year of anyone else's career, because that's a downer. You're wasting a year of Harrison Barnes' career. You're wasting a year of Rashawn Holmes' career. And I bring those guys up because, when you hit 27, 28, 29, now you're counting your years very closely. How many years do I have left? But I think we went from the first 2 weeks of the season where, how do I extend Harrison Barnes, to, okay, like, if Harrison Barnes is here after February, then good, but he's under contract for next season. But we've got to a point where this team is not going to be good enough this year, next year. There's no reason to waste more of his career. We might as well let him go play for a contender and take on a couple of first round draft picks or a young player and a draft pick, and get, start setting ourselves up. I think by playing the way that they have so far, they've put themselves in this situation as players, that this is what happens when you're not good enough as a team. When you're not good enough as a team, changes have to be made. The changes mean that you look across the locker room, don't get too comfortable with people in here, because there's a good chance in the coming 2 months they're not going to be here. But if I'm the Kings, if I'm ownership, I am not letting, like, the leash is very short on what's being traded, what's coming in and what's going out. I want to know at that point, because I need to make sure that I'm not letting somebody, like, trade away the franchise for the next couple of years when they may not be here and they're doing something to save their job, because that's when you start making the bad mistakes, when you allow people to sign George Karl to 3 or 4 year contracts to try to save his job when he's got a month and a half left and you're already letting him go. You can't do that. And so if this is your group you're moving forward with, then maybe they've got a little bit longer leash. But if not, like, don't leave a mess for the next guy, because that's not fair.
I think I know the answer based on something that you just said. Is this season over to you?
No, I give him 10 more games. Yeah, 10 more games. Like, if you guys haven't shown me that you're on the right path, I mean, because we can see it. It's not like you can't see it. That, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even wins and losses. It's how you play.
Yeah.
That's the issue. If you get a buzzer beater and this team goes 4-6, and I'm like, oh man, I'm trading everybody. They're 4-6.
Speaking of buzzer beaters, shout out to Harrison Barnes, last team to beat the Phoenix Suns.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah,
we got one thing going for it. We're the answer to an odd trivia question in the NBA right now.
That's awesome.
It's premised with, you'll never believe who the last team to beat the Phoenix Suns is.
Yeah, but I mean, you get what I'm saying though, right? Like, yeah. I mean, like, if I look at this team and I say, hey,
I just hear you protecting draft picks, and so it's like, oh man, is this over? Is that
like the deal has to be so good for
Yeah.
me to give up I mean, like, Chet Holmgren is nice. There's a couple of guys in this draft that are nice. Like, I'm not giving up my pick if I think I'm going to be in the lottery again. Even if I think I'm getting a young player, a 25-year-old player who's under contract for 3.5 more years, like Ben Simmons, I'm not giving up this year's first round pick if I think that there's no chance of me pulling out of this. That's just not going to. And to think that Ben Simmons can just step on the court and turn everything around for your franchise, that's crazy talk as well.
A guy, by the way, who's not playing,
who hasn't played.
Yeah.
He hasn't played. He sat out the first 20 something games and has no visions of coming back and playing.
Yeah.
So,
see, James, I don't know. Maybe we got another body, Dame, but I don't need 10 more games.
Oh,
3
Kenny.
years, guys. I've had 3 years of all right, let's have an honest hour. Do you think this group that we've seen do the same thing for the last 3 years is going to, if GM James Ham came in there and said, you guys got 10 games, they didn't got coaches fired. People have already lost their jobs because of them. They're going to, all right, well, I know 2 guys have already lost their job, but GM said we got 10 games. Let's go, guys. Let's go. No, this is who this group is, and I'm fielding calls today. They don't need a speech from me. They know what it is. They listen to D-Lo and KC. They can read the King's Beat. All right, they know what time it is. Everybody should be looking at what the cost is to get out of their lease. All right. And maybe you'll be the one that stays. Maybe you'll be the one that goes. But I don't need another 10 games. I know who these guys are. I've seen them for 3 years. I know who they are.
I think, like, if I were to walk into the room, it would be a conversation like what we had a little while ago when Luke was fired. And that is just the harsh reality that if you guys right here, if you don't want to do it, I'm going to basically fire you. I'm going to trade you. I'm going to dump you, because if you don't want to do it right now, then I'm the one who's going to get fired. If it's not you, then it's me. And so, like, I'm putting you on notice, and I'm pulling Alvin Gentry aside and as a GM and saying, this guy are not playing. This guy, I need to showcase. But if we are going to go down, we're going down our way. We are not going down with my bad. We're not doing it. We're not doing it anymore. If we're going down as a group, we are going to go down with the 8 or 9 best players that are bought in, that are helping, that are not making excuses, that are doing the right things on the court. and that are doing the right things for their teammates. And
Are
we're
there
gonna go
8
with
or
that
9
group.
guys like that?
Yeah, I think there are. I think that there are a couple of guys that can, that can spoil the whole bunch, or that can just change the mood. Like some of the guys that we're talking about, like,
And by couple, you very literally mean 2.
yeah, 1 or 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Okay.
they change the mood. And if
Right.
they don't want to be held accountable, and they don't want to do the things that the team needs for them to win,
They don't even want to be here.
well, if that's the case. So, that it is what it is. Like, I'm not moving forward with people that don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And then if I have other guys who are coming to me and saying I don't want to be here, I'm saying, you got to give me a shot. You got to give me a shot to make it right. Don't say that yet. Don't feel that way yet.
Yeah.
Give us some time. We're going to fix it. And I know you've heard that before, but I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to clear out some of the space, and I'm going to do the right thing by you. I'm saying, if I'm the GM, these are the conversations I'm having.
Yeah, I understand.
But I'm taking a
already
deal.
making calls.
I'm making a deal. I'm making deals. That's it.
Look, this is. I'm with you, James. Like at its core, I'm with you. I think Damian feels the same way. I'm not trying to trade De'Aaron Fox. I'm not actively seeking to trade De'Aaron Fox. But what I will do,
But my phone works.
when I call Boston, I'll just say, Brad, what would it take to get Jaylen Brown? And if he goes, first round picks and De'Aaron Fox. Well, if that's what it would take,
You're twisting my arm, Bradley. Come on.
I let them set the price, and I would orchestrate deals around that. Because I really feel, and like I said, I want De'Aaron Fox here.
But
I do want him here. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think everything is his fault. I don't feel that way. But I also have seen the same type of team for the last 3-4 years. And at this point, I just feel nobody is above on that roster. Nobody on that roster is above trying to improve where this team is at, because they're all culpable at this point.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I personally would not trade these 3 players, but no one is beyond being traded. Not when you're whatever they are, 8 and 14. I have a hard time keeping up at this point.
yeah, it's difficult. I only know because it's directly in front of me. But out of the De'Aaron, Tyrese, Rashawn, which one are you willing to take the call for on first?
I mean, age-wise, it would be Rashawn, just because he's older, but he's also under contract for 2 more years with, I think, a player option for the year.
He
4.
also shows 10 times more heart than the rest of the team combined.
No, I got you.
Well, that's not fair to Tyrese. I think Tyrese does too. But Rashawn, the dichotomy of Buddy and Tristan laughing at center court with Anthony Davis, and then the second shot just happening to be Rashawn Holmes. The difference between those 2 shots is stunning.
I get what you're saying, but people also want to look at the shot of De'Aaron Fox and then heap a bunch of negativity on it. He's pissed. That's what his look is. It's not like I hate this. He's pissed, and I get it. I totally understand. I just think the way he projects is different than the way that some other people project. And yeah, I love Holmes. I think that he should be around Sacramento for a long time. I think he's perfect for what him and Halliburton do. I think they're just really, really good in that pick and roll. And so again, I would try to keep some of this around, because I don't think switching everything out every couple of years is going to make a lot of sense. And what are you getting? That's always the question. Like, unless you're getting a top tier talent that could create something for you that's better, then how about we try a few different versions of what we're trying right now and see if that version can strike a chord that's better.
With Buddy gone, Marvin gone, with the acquisitions coming back from those 2 deals with Rashawn, Tyrese, and De'Aaron.
And if you got to get deeper, if you got to cut deeper, then you got to cut deeper. I don't think anyone's beyond reproach. But I'll even say this:
you're talking about Harrison Barnes, and that upsets me.
Yeah, well, no,
I get it.
Too.
No, I get it.
No,
he's attractive. No, he's. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, and me too. And I'll even say this: we've been talking about Buddy's personality. We've been talking about De'Aaron's personality. But let's not Tyrese Halliburton just draws you in. He draws you in and you're just so engaged. Well, he also went 2 of 10 from the field.
Mhm.
And he also has scored in single digits in 7 of the last 10 games, like I said earlier. So, we can't get fooled by somebody is angry or someone doesn't give you the post-game interview that you want. You have to look at, it's more than that. It has to be more than that. You can't just say, he looks pissed. He looks disengaged. He looks like he doesn't want to be here. It's like, well, yeah, but would you rather have a guy who's wants to be here and is happy-go-lucky and just threw up another rough game? And
But
so,
De'Aaron's game looks disengaged sometimes. 4 of 9 shooting. I think the kid, and I understand people are frustrated with post-game press conferences and
Yeah.
and the shot of him sitting, on the bench and all of that. I understand that. But I think more Kings fans are frustrated with why didn't he take over? Why didn't he do something in that moment where the Lakers are making that run instead of just folding up with apparently the rest of the guys on the floor and dying?
Mhm.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And I'll
Not
tell
yelling
you,
at you, James.
no, I'm with you. I'll say, they turned the ball over. He turned the ball over 7 times. And I think that played into some of his aggression.
Yeah.
I keep turning
He
the ball
gets
over.
timid. Does he get timid?
I mean, he disappears for segments of the game. But, I think that you have to watch, where is he on the court? Why is he doing what he's doing? And sometimes the coach is literally calling a play set for 2 other guys to get them going. And if you look at how good Davion was in the first half and think, okay, if I can get more of that, what did he have? 8 points or something? And he had 2 threes and a nice little layup. If I can get more of that, then, if we can get him going since Buddy's not going. So you're trying to mix and match the whole time and trying to get other pieces moving. I think probably one of the biggest, consistency is the word that everyone keeps saying. But I think people forget what consistency really does mean. When you're looking at a box score, with a good team, I could go through with a pen and write down, how many shot attempts, how many rebounds, how many assists, how many points, how many steals, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage on all of the veterans. I know what I'm getting from each of these guys. Well, we don't have that. That's the problem that Alvin Gentry is having. It's a problem that Luke Walton had. It's that he does not know if he's getting 1 of 10 or 8 of 14. He doesn't know. And how do you game plan when you have no idea what you're getting from 4 of your players? I know what I'm getting from Rashawn Holmes. Outside of that, can you tell me right now with this team what you're getting from any other player? You know what you're going to get from Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah.
And the answer is no. Fox has gotten better. His numbers are more consistent, but he still isn't there. And Halliburton, if that's what I'm getting, I'm not happy. I need more from him. And I'm telling him that the whole time. So again, I would write in pen what I wanted and not get it. But I think that that's part of the problem. You go up and down a baseball lineup. You think I need my number 1 hole hitter to get on if he can and get me some speed. I need my number 2 hole hitter to make contact and to take pitches. And then I need a great hitter at number 3, a home run hitter at number 4, a guy who can drive in runs at number 5, another guy who can drive in runs at number 6. And then at number 7, 8, 9, I'm starting over with 1, 2, 3, and I'm trying to get guys on board again. So when you can pencil in what you're getting, it's what makes a team really, really good. When you can't and you have no idea what you're getting from one player to the next, one night to the next, one quarter to the next, then that's where coaching this team is just nearly impossible.
I said we were going to fix this thing by 4:00. We are quickly running out of time. So when we come back, we're going to have this thing fixed. And oh, by the way, there's a game tonight. So we'll talk about that as well. And we're going to do this all again tomorrow as D'Lo and Casey continue here on Sacramento's #1 sports station, ESPN 1320. All right. Oh, man.
Sorry if I'm going too long.
No, you're good. You are good, man. The Twitch and YouTube is Y'all are popping today. I love this fan base so much, man.
I do too. I want more for them, like I finished that. If you got to the end of that piece that I wrote on the Kings beat today, like, you're right, Kings fan. Like, Alvin Gentry's right. You deserve better. Like, you deserve better. Like, you've been a great fan base, and I don't blame you for not coming out. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this team put themselves in this situation. No one else.
Yeah.
On the plus side, I keep hearing like really, really good things about Nemi, Keita.
Yeah, we haven't been able to talk to our Stockton Kings insiders in almost a month, so I'm anxious to get their
To do some mo?
takeaways. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
I've
with
been
us next Thursday.
watching the games, and then he's got such soft hands. He's such a huge body. They're really, really working to tighten up his core so he's not dragging himself around, because that's what I saw during Summer League. He's really good around the basket. He's stretching the floor. He's got really nice court vision. They're thinking they can run offense through him. Just someone who's totally different than what they have right now. Just like, they don't have that guy that can do a bunch of different, that can be used as an offensive hub.
James, let me ask you a question. Let me ask the people in the chat a question. Damien, you can answer it too. I think we talked about this, but one of the issues with trading Buddy is his money. Like, you got to get money to match up. If Denver called and said Michael Porter Jr. for Buddy Hield, would you do that?
Yep. I mean, see you next year, Michael.
Yeah, but that's his fourth back surgery.
Yeah, it's a hell of a risk.
Yeah.
But
I was told during the draft process that the Kings were so high on him and would have drafted him at number 2 over Marvin. And then they got his medicals and literally said, we would never even consider him in the second round. So talent, they love the talent, but his career is going to always be limited. I don't even know. Like, we're talking Ralph Sampson limited.
Oh, my.
Are you trading for that? Is that are you going to get 2 years, but that 2 years comes over 4? And in that, you got to pay $25 million a year or $30 million a year for 2 good years, stretched out over 4 seasons. I don't know. And he's a bit of a strange cat. He's a bit of a strange cat.
He is
a different dude.
He's not exactly the locker room leader we're looking for.
No. He's not the leader you're looking for.
Yeah. I don't know what that's a reference to, but you were really into it. So.
Is that about it though as well, though, James?
What is that?
That's Obi-Wan Kenobi for Star Wars. These are not the droids you're looking for.
No.
What?
I've never seen Star Wars.
Oh my gosh.
But James, look, is that
James just quit?
When you talk about trading Buddy Hield, it's not. What's that? $20-something million you got to find.
It's declining though. He's got he came into the
22,
season
2018.
It was 66 million left. He came into this season, I believe. He makes 23 this year, 21 next year.
Oh, okay.
And 18 and a half, 19 the next year.
Yeah, it might be for something ugly. Like to trade him, and you do better with
John Wall.
John Wall. It would be something like that.
I'd take John Wall.
I'd
take John Wall.
Something like John.
Leave me alone, James. I'd take John Wall.
You're going to take some question mark Porzingis. You're going to take some question marks back if you want to trade.
How many years does he have left? Because I feel like it's a lot. I feel like it's the same as
John Wall.
Yeah.
It's a DeMarcus Cousins contract. It's the same exact deal that Cousins was getting and then didn't get.
Hang on, James. We're coming back. Hang on. Oh, jeez. Hang on, everyone. We're working out a deal for John Wall right now. And by we, I think I just mean me and Kenny, because if James wants to throw something at us right now.
But look, because I got another question for James as well.
2022. So next year.
Yeah, it's 90 over 2.
John Wall is owed $47.3 million next year. But it's just next year.
Woo.
$47.3 million.
But what's he owed this year?
44?
Yeah, it's 91 over 2 years.
That's
Houston is paying him $44 million to not play basketball.
So I would take a deal if you could. Well, first of all, you can't make that trade. You'd have to throw in Marvin Bagley and probably Tristan Thompson, because it's got to be within 125%. So take his 44 from this year and you go plus or minus. So like
yeah, I'm
plus
not
or minus
doing the
25%.
math, James.
Yeah. So, well, it's $11 million. That's 25%. So you can go down to $33 million.
Where all this comes from, though, is we talk about trading Buddy Hield, and we're all in agreement. Well, me and Damon are in agreement. I think James, I don't want to speak for James, but he needs to go. But it's not like he makes $5 million.
Yeah.
Like if he goes in a trade, and James, tell me if I'm wrong, you're not getting this rookie contract back that's going to be perfect. I mentioned Michael Porter Jr., Porzingis, John Wall. I feel like it's going to be something like that. That's not going to be roses. It's going to be a risk, or it's going to be something that has warts on it. Like that's
Porzingis deal.
You're in.
Who, by the way, Kristaps Porzingis is available to play tonight against New Orleans. Is that alert? In quite
That's
timely.
a Christmas miracle. Yeah, like would I take Porzingis? Yeah, I'd probably take Porzingis at this point. Earlier I would have said no. I don't know how many years he has left on his deal. Like when I go through these and really break them down, like when I look at trade options, I want to know that I'm not getting stuck. So even like the John Wall deal, you're paying $47 million next year for John Wall. But that's real cap space for you because Buddy would be declining. And if you had to give up, say, you could do it with just Marvin, because we talked it would be like $33 million, right? You got to get to, and between Marvin and Buddy, that's $34 million. You could actually make that trade. Yeah, but then next year when Buddy's goes down and Marvin's no longer there, now you're paying $47 million. So your salary cap is done for next season completely. But hey, I think John Wall and De'Aaron Fox could play in a backcourt, and I think that John Wall does still have some left in the tank, but I don't think that I would. He's not he's not the leader that you want either.
Exactly. Porzingis 31.6 this year, 33 next year, and then 36 the year following that.
Nope.
Well, look.
Nope.
Well, but I agree. In a vacuum, no, I wouldn't do it.
He's about to say,
but if you want Buddy Hield out of here, you're going to have to take something nasty back. I'm just telling, am I wrong, James? Like, you're going to have to take something where, like, it's like, under normal circumstances, I would not do this.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone through it and, like, looked at different deals around the league. And even, like, Kemba Walker, he's now out of the lineup he's out of the rotation in New York. And you're looking at a small guard. And that's why Thibodeau said, hey, we can't run 3 small guards. Well, would they take 2 years of Buddy Hield in exchange? And I think Kemba's just this year, right? I might be wrong. So, I haven't looked at Kemba's deal.
Out of the contract, right?
Yeah, so. he got a buyout, so I think that's right.
Oh, so he's a low level deal. Well, I mean, I'd have to look at the contract, but like
the other thing about it though, James, is everybody else got league pass too. So not only are you selling the salary, but these people are watching him play too. And the same things that we're saying, like over Boston and Miami's dead body, would they take Buddy, in my opinion.
And Kemba's 8.7 this year, 9.1 next year.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the one thing you're missing, Kenny, is that everyone has league pass and everyone always believes that they can do something different than what the Sacramento Kings did. Like, I can fix him. That's on them. That's not on him. And I think to a certain extent, that might be true. If you get Buddy in the right situation with a coach that demands specific things from him, then he could be really good. I mean, he was really good under Dave Yeager. And so while Dave Yeager might say, if Philadelphia wanted to make a move for him, he would also go, well, I was able to get Buddy to do the specific things I asked. Does he make mistakes? Does he frustrate you? Does he drive you crazy? Sure, but we're a team that's built where we might not need him in the last 4 minutes of a game anyways. So I don't have to worry about that stuff in crunch time. I can go with a different group, and if we need to put him in for moments here and there to hit a three-pointer, he's got that in his bag. So, that's what I think, that there are teams that look at the Kings and always go, okay, like I could do something different. I could fix what's going on there. And like you brought up like Denver, I think that I'd have to look at Denver's roster, but I think that there's potential there of players that would make sense for Buddy to go there, because they clearly need more 3-point shooting. And there's a couple of teams around the league that need more 3-point shooting. You could always just go to
3-point shooting.
What's that?
The Kings 3-point.
Yeah, but I mean, if you truly just wanted to dump Buddy, like maybe
who's second in the league in 3-point makes? Let's go get that guy.
Yeah.
Sorry, James.
Is it still Buddy?
Yeah, it's still Buddy. Unfortunately,
still Buddy. Yeah.
I think it's Buddy by a lot. I swear I think Grayson Allen is number 3, but I'm not 100% positive.
Good pickup.
Yeah, I'm not sure. No, but I think there are teams out there that look and say, okay, in our system, if we limited what he did, this is what we can get out of him. Like, again, like at Brooklyn, Brooklyn's got tons, but they just lost Joe Harrison. And Kyrie hasn't played all year, and so they have like specific things. Blake Griffin, I see you over there. You're not getting Kyrie.
I just mentioning what happened. Trade him for Kyrie. Tell Kyrie you don't have to show up. You get the money off the books. Kyrie gets to go where he wants to go. I'm just saying that might be the best deal out there.
I don't think they're trading him, because I think they believe something's going to change and that they're going to be able to play him eventually. So,
that's a bold strategy to take with Kyrie Irving
out here in the States now. So I don't know if anything's going to
just want to
better.
Point out they're 15-6 without him, and COVID's not exactly going away. It may be mutating into new forms, so
that's
I
not
would
good.
be careful before talking about Brooklyn. Brooklyn may just be looking at this thing like, if we can get Harden hot and just keep them healthy in the postseason, we could probably do it with this group right here. It's obviously it's a massive challenge against Milwaukee, but you mentioned this earlier, James. This Eastern Conference is good, man.
Mm-hmm.
The top of the Eastern Conference is really good, and you kind of are starting to keep your eye on Chicago. Like, how long are they going to be playing the way that they are? Miami's, this isn't a really stunning position for Miami. Washington certainly is reaping the benefits of Los Angeles changing their mind and wanting Russell Westbrook instead of Buddy Hield. So there's some interesting teams to watch over there.
Yeah, I think the East is fully taken like a huge step, because a lot of teams in the West have started to tumble. I think it's just a bummer if you look at the bottom teams in the West. There's already 2 or 3 that the Kings have lost to, and they're near the bottom, but you would hope that you could get wins on some of these games, and they just haven't been able to come through. So yeah, it's rough. I think we're getting to a point though where things are going to start moving and shaking. Like, if this is who you are, then it's time to really, really start looking at other options.
Are we realistically counting down to the 15th?
Well, I mean, yeah, I would say that the 15th is a day that you should circle and say, okay, that's when things sort of kick off.
Gonna wake up December 15th like it's Christmas morning, like looking for the Woj tweet, because we know we're not gonna give it to Ham, so we'll be looking for that Woj tweet to come in.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. I think the 15th is just like the start, and it's never like this huge snowball event. But it definitely opens the door for more options for teams. And I think that's what a lot of people wait for. They're like, okay, how many deals do I have that I could potentially, consummate here? And then you start going through them and you're like, okay, if I wait just a little bit longer, the Kings don't have much time to wait. Like, they've got themselves in a situation where if you're going to shake things up, you got to do it now. You got to, as soon as humanly possible. And I mean, they can make trades today for sure. They just can't include specific players. And then once they get past that, then it does like open up. And then there's another
And
group
that's
of
Mo
players.
and Terrence Davis. But there are other
And
players
Alex.
around the league.
Yeah.
Right. Alex Lynn, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what you're really looking at, though. You're looking at players around the league.
Yeah.
Like, whether the Kings are, going to outwardly, I mean, they're not going to balk on a deal because some team wants Alex Len or Mo Harkless. If they've got to go in a deal, they'll trade them. That's just, and same thing with Terrence Davis. I mean, at this point, but then again, I would kind of like to see Terrence Davis without Buddy Hield, because I think that's a different dynamic.
Wow. James, let me ask you a question real quick as we try to fix the Kings. And I know it's a little early, but I'd be lying if I didn't say it was going through my head. And quite frankly, I don't know the answer. Can Fox and Halliburton play together successfully?
I think so. I mean, they're both really intelligent basketball players, but they're also both very young and have yet to grow into like their true physical form. And so I think it's difficult at times right now, because while we don't want to think of Halliburton as a second-year player who's all of a sudden playing a lot of minutes for a second-year player, we don't want to think of him that way because he's so smart and because he comes off so well. But at the same time, there's a ton of room for growth and improvement and physical changes in both these players. And like everyone talks about, oh, did De'Aaron bulk up too much? Well, I'll tell you, at that age, you can add a bunch of muscle, and then your body takes it and it morphs it into what it really wants. And it just takes a little bit of time for it to happen. And so his adjustments, I think Halliburton can be strong. For as much as people want to trash De'Aaron for, not playing stellar defense all the time, Halliburton gets around all the time on defense. And while he's great in the passing lanes and he's averaging, right around 2 steals a game, I
think James' internet connection is tapping out. James, I think your internet connection is tapping out. This 2 hours was too much.
I'm back. I'm back. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. You are back. I think it was the Obi-Wan Kenobi reference earlier that got you.
There it is. See, you even now I'm teaching you. You already know who Obi-Wan Kenobi is. See,
yes,
that's my job.
You did good as a victory.
Yeah. So yeah. Yes, I think you have to give that more time. You can't just say no that we're going to go away from him.
Why is Fox like? It's Kenny and I joke, taking a lot of L's here as it pertains to the Sacramento Kings. I think the biggest L I took was I didn't think De'Aaron Fox was a bad defender. I certainly didn't think he was a great defender. He looks like an awful defender this year. Is it like, how did he seem to, did he regress, or did I just think too highly of him entering the season?
Man, I'm going to point at something that I think is missed. This is the 4th defensive coach for him in 4 years. So like, I want to tell you that it's just on that he's just physically not a good defender. I don't agree with that. There are moments where I think he's an exceptional defender. There are other moments where I think, oh, I can't believe that just happened. What happened with him and was it TJ McConnell? That was like embarrassing. But I think also that was him underestimating somebody. And I also think that was the scheme that they're playing. They weren't showing the right way on the pick and roll. So every single time you switch coaches, they have a different idea. And so like 2 years ago, it was no switching. Last year, it was switch. This year, it's some sort of morphed switching. I don't like that they keep dropping the big too deep. And I think they leave their guards hung out at the top to get picked off all the time. And there's nothing that De'Aaron Fox can do when like a behemoth of a man in while they're cleaning you off and chucking you out into open space. And now you got a guard running at your big and you want to blame Fox for not getting through the pick. How's he supposed to get through the pick? The big's not stepping up and sealing. And so Fox has a chance to recover. And that to me, like, there are schematic issues. And I don't think it's just schematics. I think it's also that that the players just aren't adjusting yet, or they haven't fully. They have some identity on that end sometimes, but other times you see it go away. And then, and then you have one guy who gets back cut all the time and won't learn how to stop the back for the same defense that everyone else is talking about for the back cut, So it's flex, man. I think Fox can be a good defender. I think just about everybody on this team has potential to be a solid defender. It's just whether or not they lock in and do it, and whether or not they're understanding the scheme 100% from yet again another new defensive.
To play the Clippers tonight, by the way. Like that last night, as disastrous as last night was, it was the first night of a back-to-back. So they lose to the Lakers the way that they do last night. They'll be taking on the Clippers tonight in Los Angeles. I'm confident that's a 7:30 start. James, you mentioned Harrison is out. Bagley is out. Mo Harkless is out.
It's
for
questionable.
The Kings. Questionable. Sorry. Mo Harkless is questionable. Paul George is out for the Los Angeles Clippers. Not a lot of time to lick your wounds here. Like if there were some problems there in the second half, and the Kings are going to have to. I mean, I know it feels like after losses like that last night that the season is over. But the fact is, we go with the James Ham philosophy. You got 10 games to kind of figure this thing out before it really has slipped away. We've talked about the bottom of the Western Conference not being very good. Like, they got the Clippers tonight. I think they got the Clippers on Saturday. I think they got the Clippers 3 times in the month of December. They're gonna if they got to start figuring some things out, man, before this season really, really does just slip completely out of their grasp.
Yeah, if you're going to make your move, you have to start picking up wins that are slightly unexpected. Like Friday, I think, was slightly unexpected, and then it set up some weird expectations for yesterday's game. Like, I mean, again, the Kings aren't a team that should beat anybody. Like,
I think the expectation. I think it was the Sunday game that killed everyone. It was like you followed up the Friday game with the game on Sunday, and then I know I was feeling good in the first half.
And to lose by more than 50 in the two games, the two games combined between Sunday and Tuesday, I think it's 50 plus, right? Combined.
Man.
Yeah, that's unacceptable.
Goodness
and I mean, that's, again, I'm sure we're getting close to ending here, but Alvin Gentry's apology, that's what it's about. Like, we just can't be that team. We can lose, but we can't be that team, because that's disrespectful to your fan base. It's disrespectful for people who pay tickets, who already missed out on seeing LeBron James, who, of course, went into COVID protocols. But that's just embarrassing. And you can't do that to your fan base. It's not right. And to keep losing at home is not right. 3-8 at home. Even the horrific teams in the early 90s, they still went 500 at home or real close to it. Even when they're winning 25 games, they still won 21 at home and just got 4 wins on the road.
The Houston Rockets are 4-16. They're 4-5 at home.
Yeah, and they're on a streak, right? Or they were.
They are. In fact, they've won 3 straight.
Yeah.
And that got them to the 4-16 marker that they're at.
Yeah, and then the Kings, I think, play them 3 times late in the season. They don't have them until way later in the season. Yeah.
Is that a battle for playing spot for the Kings, or battle for lottery balls?
Yeah.
We'll find out. James, thanks for spending so much time with us. It's a frustrating day following the Laker game, and your insight into this team is always appreciated. Make sure you subscribe to the Kings Beat. Happy hour for those at the Kings Beat is tomorrow. Subscribe to the Kings Beat podcast as well. It's as good of Kings talk as you're going to get with our man James Ham and Sean Cunningham.